Welcome back to the channel, you guys. Welcome back to Ironclad RC. Today we got the Delta Force 23 on the block. Trying to get a bunch of my boats prepped up for the summer, and I've been actually putting a hatch lock on this boat for like a year now. So today we're actually going to install a hatch lock. I got two to choose from. I've got one from Offshore Electrics and one you can actually get from a hardware store. So stick around, you guys. We're going to epoxy a hatch lock on the boat. So let's get to it. This is a Delta Force 23. Like I said, you get this hull from Offshore Electrics. It comes bare hull. You have to build the whole boat. This is a custom built boat. Actually, the second build I did on the channel, boat build I did on the channel, I believe, or maybe my third build. I'm gonna go over the boat real quick before we install the hatch locks. I had a couple guys asking me about my electronics in this boat, so I'm gonna go over it real quick. Got a Dynamite 90. Okay, I usually run a fly color 90 in the boat. This is a 2968 with a water-cooled motor mount. All right, the 2968, it's either 3400 or 4000. I think it's a 4000. Both motors work great in the boat. Standard size DS servo, custom mount, custom battery trays. I can run single battery or twin batteries, parallel or series. Okay. The hardware, running a Mad Lizard turn fins. These are replacement turn fins for the Sonic Wake V2, and they work perfect on this boat. Okay, small trim tabs, a 3/16 strut with an easy grease fitting. Got external water pickups with a TFL inline rudder that I've modified to make work on the monohull. So I actually have two options for thumb screws, for locking screws. Okay, I can use the hardware store or the Offshore Electrics brand. Okay, this one right here is pretty cool because it just uses a pin to lock your thumb screw into place. Okay, you drill a hole in your hatch, that basically drops in your hatch. This right here gets installed into the hull, and you basically lock it in just like so. Okay, it's a nice hatch locking system. Okay, and then we have like a hardware store curled nut and bolt. Okay, these are pretty common. All right, I've used these on my Delta Force 35 and it works good. You know what I'm saying? Whenever I use these on my boats, I actually grind that little lip right there off. Okay, I actually grind that off. That goes in the boat, and then this goes in the hatch. All you do is drill a hole in the hatch. Actually, I could actually use either one. This is the Offshore Electrics locking system. I could put one on each side, okay? Or, which is just a single one in the middle, okay? The reason I can't use the Offshore Electrics like a single in the middle is because there's like an angle on my hatch right here, and these are like flat. These need to be like installed on a flat surface, and then inside the boat it should be basically parallel with the hatch surface. You feel me? These hardware store bought ones can be installed at an angle. You know, as long as you get the angle right on your nut, you should be fine. With this particular hatch right here, I've already made a forward hatch locking, just a little bar, aluminum stock that I've drilled some holes in, epoxied onto my hatch. It basically just goes under the lip of my hull, and it slides right into place. So I think I'm going to go with just a single nut. Okay. So I'm going to try to explain this to you, why I grinded the edge off. This one's the original one. This is the one I grinded off. Okay, I actually have to drill a huge hole, and once we set that nut into the hole, there's going to be a lot of wiggle room. You guys see that? Okay, so I grinded that lip off. You see this one? I grinded the lip off. We can drill a much smaller hole, kind of squeeze it in there. I drilled it at an angle so I can like wedge it in there. Once we get it in the hole, okay, there's not going to be a whole lot of wiggle room, and we can use the epoxy around it. Okay, that's going to be much easier method of epoxying this into the boat. So let's go ahead and get the hole drilled. I used my square here, my adjustable square, found center on my hatch. Okay, there's middle line. All right, and now we need to actually make sure that we're drilling into this lip right here and not like forward of it. So we're actually going to mark out that as well. going to drill it. Make sure your hatch is all the way on your boat. Make sure it's completely on. Make sure there's no wires under the lip when you drill, you know. And I'm going to drill mine straight down, okay, because I'm actually going to put a little O-ring, a little grommet in between my nut and the boat. Okay, so I'm just going to drill this right straight through the hole. Okay, that looks good. Now we need to drill the hole big enough for the screw, and then we need to drill a hole big enough for our modified nut. Okay, so I like to use this guy right here. This thing comes in handy. Okay, 17/64 for that one. All right. So I got the nut in there. Okay, I drilled it tight, so I had to actually press it in. That's why I recommended taking down the outside diameter of that nut, so when you put it in there, it'll kind of stay in place, you know. So I got some 30-minute Bob Smith Industries epoxy mixed up. I'm gonna let it sit for about 10 or 15 minutes, let it thicken up, and then we're gonna glue this in. Okay, rough up the surface we're gonna be epoxying. All right, gonna kind of rough it up so we get a good bond. All right, so I'm using my file right here to just kind of rough up the metal a little bit so the epoxy grabs onto it. Okay, y'all gonna have to bear with me because when I put this in there, it's probably not gonna go the first time, you know. So so my epoxies, probably could let it sit up a little bit longer, but let's roll with it. It don't take much, so don't mix up a whole heap and pile of epoxy for this little job, because you're actually going to have to do it 2 or 3 separate occasions. So mix you up a couple of small batches and do it little by little. So you really don't want to get epoxy in the nut, you know. And what I do is I actually oil my screw whenever I put my screw in, you know, to hold the nut in place. That oil should prevent the screw from sticking in the boat. Okay, so let's try to get this first shot here. Oh, how about that? How about that? So basically relying on the epoxy under the hull to hold this in place right now, you know. So I'm gonna put my spring on there. All right, and you don't have to do this. If you know a better way to do it, then by all means use it. This is just how I'm doing it. I'm gonna put that spring under there. That's going to help keep the nut in place while the epoxy's drying. Okay, that's what it looks like. Okay, I just made sure my nut, you know, my angle's right so it matches the angle of my hatch. Okay, I'm basically going to screw mine straight down. So it's actually been about an hour, I guess, maybe 2 hours, and it's pretty much hard, just got a little tack to it. So I feel comfortable enough we can go ahead and pull this screw. I need to make sure it's not stuck in the nut. Alright, so while it's still kind of tacky, if by chance this doesn't line up with our hatch, we can still kind of maneuver that nut around if needed, you know. So let's throw the hatch on here, check for fit, and that's perfect. That is freaking perfect. I don't know why it's taken me a whole year to do this. I've been meaning to do this for like a whole freaking year, and it's only taken me, well, an hour now videoing, because I've had to do a couple takes, you know, because I'm a big moron and don't get my words right the first time. So right now I'm gonna go ahead and mix up a little bit more Bob Smith, and we're just gonna put it around the nut. Okay, give you a little close-up of it. All right, just gonna put it around it just to kind of make it look better. I could roll with it just like it is, to be honest with you, because I've got a buku amount of, well, not a buku, but enough epoxy on the bottom side that I don't even need to do this, but I am, because it makes it look good. So I got you guys zoomed in so you can see what I'm doing. I'm using this little needle right here, capillary tube, and a little wire, and I'm just going to go around this little nut. Nothing too hard, you know. So I'll probably just fast forward through it, and I'll show you what it looks like when it's all said and done, dried and everything. Just gonna go around it like that, you know, just take my time so it looks good, so I don't have to clean up a lot or sand it when I'm done, you know, just take my time. And this is just gonna, this right here, if you epoxy the bottom good enough, this right here is just for looks, so it don't look so out of place, you know. I've got a lot of little projects laying around that I need to do before summer gets here, you know, little upgrades, not even upgrades, just little things on my boats that I've been putting off, that I might actually shoot quite a few different boats here shortly, you know, trying to prep everything up for summer. Oh, that looks good. I'm not even going to touch it no more. That actually is perfect. Yep, that's perfect. That's perfect. I'm going to let that cure out. I got a little bit left, and I might find something to put on. Okay, the epoxy's basically cured out. All right, it's it needs a few more hours to fully cure, but that's what it's gonna look like, just like that. It's done. Okay, done. D-U-N, done. All right, gonna use that front latch for the front of the boat. If you do this, you know, make sure you drill a couple holes in the aluminum for the epoxy to set down into. Use a piece of aluminum that you can bend, you know, to shape so it fits in the boat and conforms to the boat nice. All right, that locks the front end. We got the back. Okay, I actually cut a little grommet, like a wire grommet, a through-hole grommet, in half for my little my seal for the hatch lock. All right, and I'm just gonna slide my screw in and tighten her down. She's done. That thing ain't going nowhere, boy. She ain't going nowhere. All right, I used this same method on my Delta Force 35. I've had zero issues. I put 4 thumb screws on my Delta Force 35, one on each corner. The same method. Okay, it works. Had no issues. Okay, so I actually got another idea for you guys. I'm gonna get this out the way. I'm gonna pull out the drag boat. I just primed it, and after I freaking primed the boat, I got this freaking idea for my hatch. I got a little pin up front, okay, and then I set my hatch on my boat, and I was gonna tape it on, which I probably still will tape it on, but I epoxied a brass tube through the wood right here, and then since it was really close to the seam right here, I used carbon fiber around it, but I used a blind nut and a 440 threaded screw, which is the same thread count as these curled nuts that we used on the Delta Force. Okay, I epoxied that blind nut into my hatch. All right, it's gonna lock up front, put it in the boat right there, and then our blind nut will catch the thumb screw. Okay, boom. All right, done. All right, so that's how I'm going to hold this boat on. I'll probably end up shortening this screw up and using that screw, you know. But that's just another way to make a hatch lock. Man, the drag boat looks badass, you guys. Whoever's still here, it looks freaking awesome. This is a little treat for you. All right, so we got our new hatch we made in the last video with our motor. Okay. She's getting there. She's getting there, boys. First coat of primer. It might be the last coat. Look at that. Woo! Yes, sir, buddy. Yes, sir, buddy. Okay. So that's just a different way to do it. You know, I just wanted to show you guys this since we're talking about hatch locks, hatch mechanisms. You know, that's a good way to do it, you know, with a blind nut. We could have used the blind nut on this, and we wouldn't have had to do all the epoxies and stuff. It would have been the same process. So hopefully this helps you guys out. We'll see you guys next time. Big B with Ironclad RC.